Today we're going to take a look at the FN510. This is basically based on the 509 series of handguns, which has always been in 9mm, whether it's a compact, full-size, tactical, or set up more as a competition gun. FN has been using this same platform for a little while now, but it wasn't until about a year ago that you had the option to buy this platform in a 45 ACP or 10mm. For those of you that are big FN fans out there, you of course remember the FNX-45 Tactical, and that was probably our last new production 45 ACP from FN. So it's been quite a while since they've done anything larger other than 9mm stuff. And it's pretty cool to see FN listening to their customer base, since a lot of us want to shoot subsonic stuff, especially with 45 and 10mm has seemingly been growing in popularity as well. With both the 545 and the 510, you're going to have a standard model and a tactical model. Really the only difference here is they're both going to come with a cut for a red dot and suppressor height sights already, so that you can co-witness with that dot, which is pretty nice. But the tactical is simply going to add a threaded barrel. Instead of these standard capacity 15-round magazines, you're going to get FN factory extended 22 round magazines for the 10mm. I'm not sure what the capacity is on the 45 ACP. That is a great amount of capacity for a 10mm handgun. That's just a lot of firepower. So if you're looking at this as a backwoods gun or a hunting sidearm, that's going to be pretty hard to beat. At the time of making this video, there is a rebate on this handgun too. So the standard models of the 545 and 510 will have a $75 rebate, and the tactical models will come with a $100 rebate. You can fill that out online. It's super easy to do. One thing I would consider though, when you're looking at the price point difference, even if you don't plan on suppressing it, if you are very interested in those extended magazines, consider that those magazines are $75 from FN, while the flush fit ones like this are only $50. You know, if you're wanting those magazines, I would almost just opt for the tactical model and save yourself a little bit money in the long run there. Now, I don't want to call myself biased, because I did go out with my own money and purchase this gun for testing. But I did own a 509 in the past, and I honestly could not make myself love that gun, and I ended up selling it after some time. There were a number of issues that I had with the 509. Some people would argue that there's about a 500 round break-in period, but it was a little bit picky on what type of ammo I threw through it. Especially if I used steel case or something, it had some cycling issues, and then I just never really grew fond of the trigger on that gun. A lot of time has passed since then, and I do want to give the platform another chance, because I do think the ergonomics on this platform are really nice. Since the 509 has been out for such a long time at this point, I'm going to assume that a lot of guys are already familiar with the platform, but I do just want to throw out there that the ergonomics on this are very nice. There is some really nice texturing, a couple different back straps that come with it out of the box. The magazine release is a bit extended, and it is ambi on both sides. The hinge trigger, I'm not a big fan of. For the 509, there is a flat face trigger, both from Apex, and now FN actually offers one because they offer that in the LS Edge. But that trigger, I believe, is actually a different trigger bar than is in the 510 and 545. So we haven't seen a flat face trigger come out for these quite yet. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of complaints about ergonomics, fit, finish. The FDE, especially on FNs, I think looks absolutely fantastic. The slide is almost kind of like a bronze color, which I absolutely love. The sights are completely blacked out, both front and back. I'm not a fan of that. I did put a little bit of white paint on the front post, and I am perfectly content with that for now. I have shot about 100 rounds through this handgun so far, and it's been flawless in terms of reliability. I don't have any buffalo bore or anything super hot to shoot through it. I've been shooting mostly federal, and again, this isn't going to be like a full review or anything. This is more of just an overview, or you could even call it a first impressions, but we're going to shoot it. I'll tell you what I think of it, and we'll wrap this up and keep it short. This trigger is pretty awful in my opinion. If you really like the 509, you might be fine with it, but I'm gonna drop the magazine out here and try to kind of explain this. So, weapon is completely empty as you saw there. So, the trigger, it has some take up and then it gets heavy. You're like, okay, I'm at the wall. But then it has this really heavy grit and it keeps moving back. And then you kind of hit another wall and your finger moves a little bit again, and then it finally breaks. So it's like light, wall, grit, break. If you were to hold this at your target and try and take up the slack, it would take you to this wall, but then it still moves. And I don't know why that is. There's just like an awful lot of grit in there. That one was low. I'm adjusting my grip here a lot because my hands are super sweaty. I don't know if you can tell how much I'm sweating, but it is in the 90s today. All right, I got some MagTech loaded up here. So I've been shooting federal. I'm wearing gloves now too, so that hopefully my sweaty hands can hold on to this gun a little bit better. I felt like that was a whole lot more controllable. I have one more magazine with the federal though, and I'm gonna shoot that. I'll shoot at the smaller target up at the headshot. Okay, I wasn't the most accurate there, but the grouping was pretty tight. So yeah, I want to say that being able to hold on to this thing helps a little bit better. So maybe some Talon grip tape, or wearing gloves when you practice, obviously, makes a big difference with shooting a caliber like this. I've shot a lot of ammo today, and this is going to be the last magazine here. Nice. This is shooting really good. I'm going to throw a picture up of that group because that's the best I've shot this thing all day, and in general for me this is a pretty good group. I'm at maybe 7 yards. I might actually, without measuring it, I might actually be like at 6 yards. But still, given the recoil of the 10 and my inexperience with this caliber and only having at this point like 300 rounds or less on this handgun, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so this is going to be kind of my mini conclusion. Like I said, I wouldn't consider this a full review or anything given the round count on it, but I am very happy with how this thing is shot. I had a lot of complaints, especially at first, about the trigger. It is really gritty, it is really stagey, but there's really not a lot of great striker-fired handguns out there in terms of trigger feel. The VP9 is probably my favorite feeling trigger, but unless you're a 1911 guy and you want to spend quite a bit of money on a really high quality 1911, and you're still going to have half the capacity, even less maybe, than you get with this FN510. For the price, for a 10mm, it is kind of hard to beat. I know that there's the Glock options out there. This is just another alternative out there. If you want to mount a dot, you certainly can do that from the factory. If you want a threaded barrel, you get a great quality FN threaded barrel from the factory with the tactical version. So those are all great features to have, and just the ergonomics on here are really good. Hopefully FN will offer their trigger from the LS Edge for this model, but certainly this trigger is serviceable. You certainly can use this if you're in the market for a 510. I eventually was getting groups that I personally was very happy with out of this.